Hey everybody, welcome to my video on the shutdown rule. In my last video, I showed how to measure the profit of a perfectly competitive firm and how they choose the profit. And right at the end, I showed that a firm can suffer a loss. What I didn't address is whether or not the firm should be in business. As we know, firms that lose money can stay in business. Firms lose money all the time, but they can't keep losing money. If they're going to keep losing money, they should shut down. So losing money is not a sustainable outcome, but something we should ask ourselves in the short run is, should we stay in business? And this video is about how to figure that out from a competitive firm's standpoint. So part one, we're going to do a scenario where a firm has a fixed cost of $5,000 and a variable cost of $50,000 if it's open for business. We're going to do three scenarios. One where its total revenue is $55,000. One where its total revenue is $51,000, and one where its total revenue is $47,000. In the good scenario, the $55,000 revenue, if it stays open, its profit is $55,000 minus $50,000 minus $5,000 is zero. That's total revenue, $55,000, minus total cost, $55,000, is zero. So this firm is making zero economic profit. Okay, what if it closes? Well, if it closes, its total revenue is zero, its variable cost is zero, but its fixed cost is still $5,000. Paying the fixed cost anyway with no revenue just means that the firm will lose $5,000. $0 is better than $5,000, so the firm should stay in business. Now, if the firm has a $51,000 revenue potential, then if it stays open, its profit will be $4,000 below zero, and if it closes, its profit will be $5,000 below zero. All the calculations are the same form as what we did on the earlier scenario. Just change all your total revenues to 51. In this case, staying open, losing $4,000, is better than closing, losing $5,000. So even though this firm's losing money in the short run, I'm still going to tell it to stay in business because it will lose less money if it opens its doors. And then, later on, maybe the market will get better or maybe the firm will just shut down in the long run. But today, while they still have a fixed cost, they should stay in business. Last scenario, $47,000 revenue. If it stays open, it will lose $8,000. If it closes, it will only lose $5,000. Closing loses less money than staying open. My recommendation to this firm is shut down. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to formalize a little bit of what's going on here. What this is really hinging on is the relationship between total revenue and variable cost. The fixed cost never changes. It all hinges on the total revenue versus variable cost. If total revenue is greater than variable cost, it stays in business because it can pay its variable cost, which is the cost of opening the doors, and it'll even pay some of the fixed cost, which means its losses will be less than if it's shut down. Or if it's high enough, if its total revenue is greater than total cost, then it just makes money, which is great. But if our total revenue is less than variable cost, it needs to shut down because it will lose money by opening its doors. So just for the sake of the equals, I'm going to say if total revenue is greater than or equal to variable cost, it'll stay in business. Even if it's just barely breaking even, I'm just going to assume that that means it stays in. But what about total revenue and variable cost? Can we get that to fit on our normal graph with all of our average curves? Sure. Total revenue is price times quantity. Variable cost is quantity times average variable cost. Let's see. Let's rewrite these. If price times quantity is greater than variable cost, well, we can rewrite variable cost as being Q times average variable cost. And from that, we can divide both sides by Q, and what this really hinges on is if the price is greater than the average variable cost. That is going to give us our shutdown rule, the relationship of price and the average variable cost. So let's get a graph in here. And let me clean up some of this mess real quick. So let me rewrite the shutdown rule for what we just found out, price and average variable cost. If the price is greater than or equal to the average variable cost, stay in business. If price is less than the average variable cost, shut down. That's the rule. Because if the price can't even compensate for the average variable cost, opening the doors makes me lose more money. Now, where does that show on this graph? Well, I guess the bare minimum average variable cost, the lowest average variable cost we could possibly have, we know where that is. When we introduced our cost curves, we talked about it. It's here where the marginal cost meets the average variable cost curve. That's the lowest that the average variable cost can be, which means this price is our shutdown price. If the price is that high or higher, there are quantities where we can be in business. If the price is lower than that shutdown price, we have to shut down, because there's no way for the price to be greater than or equal to the average variable cost if it's below the minimum average variable cost. And that means that the portion of our marginal cost curve at which we actually consider production is this part, because everything below it is below our shutdown price. So the blue part of the curve is the one that we're willing to do business on. Now I want to show you something. If we put arbitrary prices in this market, you'll see that as price rises, the intersection of price and marginal cost moves to the right. And if we lower the price, the intersection moves to the left. What I'm seeing when I see this is every time the price moves, the quantity moves. Because don't forget, the intersection of the marginal revenue or price curve and the marginal cost curve tells us what quantity our firm wants to make. Each price linked to a quantity supplied. You guys, this is awesome, because this blue curve is the individual firm's supply curve. The supply curve is a portion of the marginal cost curve. And what portion is it? It's the portion above the shutdown price. As long as the price is equal to the shutdown price or more, the firm will do business. And its marginal cost curve dictates its supply curve. As I mentioned earlier, there will still be decisions to be had in the future. If the market gets better and the price rises, the firm might become profitable again. If it never gets better, the firm will eventually shut down once its fixed costs become variable and go to zero. But anyway, I hope this was helpful to you. If not, too bad. Thanks for watching anyway. Good luck, and I will see you next time.